So for those wondering, this is Yoel for Hebrew in Israel. And the Haifa area has a new thing, which is this amazing cable car. Absolutely phenomenal. We've been waiting for this for quite a while. This goes all the way from the area known as the Mifratz, the Bay Area. And it goes all the way up into Haifa University with some stops in different areas. I came at the right time. I have an empty cart for myself right now. So this is lots of fun. And I haven't been in one of these in years. So I'm a little giggly because it's fun. It really is. This does cost money, but you can do like a regional card, and then you can ride this thing pretty much with any other bus in the area. But I have to admit, the experience is actually quite fun. I'm really enjoying this. So for those wondering, that's Mount Carmel. This is this will be like the northern side of the mountain. And as you can see, the city is built all around this hill. And I'm going to be entering a certain area here. But I'm going to continue upwards. It should take me upwards. Yeah, it does. So this is quite beautiful and relatively smooth, except when you enter. It slows down. Now this whole thing was delayed for a very, very long while. Kids are enjoying this too. This thing was delayed for a very long while because of some financial issue with a German company. But whoa! This is, sorry, a little giggly. It's fun. It really is fun. And they finally opened it up a couple of weeks ago, and I've been wanting to ride this thing for a while. And now it's finally happening. So what's very important about this is growing up here in the Haifa area, it takes a very long time to get from the lower part, like down there, for example, or this area known as the checkpost. If anyone ever tells you it's called checkpoint, it's not correct. It's called the checkpost, and it takes a very long time because you have to climb up the mountain, wind through the roads and everything. And for example, when I first started studying at Haifa University, actually the first time I went up there for the library, it was just insane. You would ride a bus for over an hour to get to something that, if there was a direct line, it would take you 20 minutes. And one of the first things they did is they started tunneling through the mountain back in the late 70s, all the way behind there. And that helped people cut through, there were two tunnels dug. One, which was dug back in the late 90s, which was all the way behind there, was it was dug for the purpose of allowing people to travel from the valley area. This is basically the Zebulun, and Israel is just across over there, to enable people to travel from one side of the valleys to basically to the ocean. Another thing they did is a thing called the Carmelit, and this is what they call this, the Carmel. What is it called, the Carmelit or something like that? I think that's what Hebrew Academy decided to call this, the Carmelit. Carmelit, something kind of weird to pronounce. We're not used to pronouncing it that way. So they all call it with the word Carmel somehow incorporated into the name. And the other one basically runs through the lower part of the city all the way up to the area of the upper part of the city. And now we have this, which takes us from the valley all the way up the mountain, and the last stop should be up at Haifa University. And though I would say maybe 20, 30 years ago, if it was a little bit more pastoral today, continue building. So the buildings here are, some places are just incorporated into the mountain itself, and the cliffs are still here. There's Haifa University, that's the tower, the Eshkon Tower. And we're entering another checkpoint here. essentially, I think people can get on here as well. I have to say, this is quite phenomenal. It's beautiful. And they're also bringing a lot of kids to ride this thing, which is lots of fun. There you go, more kids. They're screaming. It does. It kind of jumps a little bit, so you can scream a little bit when it happens. I have to admit, it's not as fun as a roller coaster, but it gets there sometimes. As you can see, Haifa is built on the mountain. So what they've done is they carved the mountain itself in many areas, and there's actually an area not too far away from here which really kind of runs through like this section. That's a really good example of it. You see that? Basically what they've been having to do is in some areas carve through the mountain to make sure that there's areas to build. So as you can see, this entire area is probably being worked on to make sure that there's more place to build. But what they're doing, they're creating these enclaves within the mountain to build the city. But Haifa is, my parents, when they moved here, they almost lived up on the mountain. My dad says they got out the car and he smelled the air and you could smell the stench from the factory. He said, I'm not living here. That was a bit of a funny story that my dad kept on telling me. But yeah, they incorporate the city itself into the hillside, and it makes it a bit more tricky to travel around in the city. But on the other hand, it's sometimes really a really nice area to live in. Still hear children screaming. You know what I wish they would have done? Is they could have made the floors see-through. That would have been amazing. I've heard there's like bridges in the world where the bridges are see-through and you can literally just walk on them. It's absolutely scary to walk through. We're hovering now over the Technion. Yeah, this is the technical school. Two brothers-in-law of mine studied here, both engineering. This is one of the really most important schools in Israel, even though...
التخنة النقطية تخنيون مركز. المحطة الحالية التخنيون المركز. The current station, Central Technion Station.
That's what they do here in Israel. You get it in Hebrew, Arabic, and English. And the Technion is really a very important school. A lot of very important minds came out of here. I actually studied with some people who were physicists who went here, and phenomenal what these guys know. So if you get into this school, you are in a good place. It really is. If your field is technical things. Opens. If anyone wants to get on. Is strange, they don't stop. They continuously move and you have to hop on. I found that to be a little awkward when I got on the first time. like 15 minutes all the way up, something like that. And this really does cut the time short, because even if you get on the quickest bus, it's like 25 minutes or something. So this cuts it by 10 minutes, and it's actually quite pleasant. There's a nice breeze today, so this is really, really a really nice ride. And by the way, if you look at these buildings, they're actually quite old. They date back into the 60s and 70s, but they've been building more and more structures in this campus. It's beautiful. You can actually right next to a little bit of a forest here. That's why it's called Carmel, because Carmel in this specific meaning is actually forest. That's a nice view if you like forests. It's beautiful. I love forests. You can just go into this place and just forget about the world for a short while. I wish you could feel the atmosphere I feel up here. It's just pastoral. It's gorgeous. Well, that's how it does it. It goes up and up there. Okay. I'm going to try to film this all the way through. Hopefully it works. Interesting thing about the trees that naturally grow here. The thing is that back in the 50s and 60s we started planting new trees because the Turks cut down many of the forests in the land of Israel, and we planted a lot of these pines. But many of the original plants in this area, original trees, were actually much lower, almost shrub-like trees. Eventually they were, many of them are still here, but eventually many of them were replaced by these by these pines, which unfortunately are very flammable. They grow really fast, and that was the ideal behind it. I don't know what they're doing these days, but back when I was a kid, we planted pines. It was a whole Shavuot thing for us. And here you can see the Bay Area. I've taken many pictures of this. And today, unfortunately, is hazy. But you can see all the very lush land we have here. We have this very black soil in our area, which is very good for farming. And people grow here a lot of things, including grains and vegetables. Not fruits so much. Fruits grow in higher elevation. The valley is only about between, let's say in feet, about 40 to 100 feet, something like that, above sea level. I think the highest point it's just 150, something like that. Up on the mountain, obviously different. But when you go up into the Golden Heights and so on, that's where you get your apples and pears and so on. Grapes grow very well in Judea, Samaria as well. There's some really interesting wineries. The Gush Etzion winery was opened with the help of my wife's father, who introduced the man who opened the place to how to produce wine and so on. If you're ever in Judea, Gush Etzion winery, great place. And we're entering the last station, which is Haifa University. We saw that building below, now we see it from, well, above.
בתחנה הנוכחית, אוניברסיטת חיפה.
المحطة الحالية جامعة حيفا.
The current station, University of Haifa.
So I have to get off here. Hope you enjoyed this view to the Mediterranean Sea. And I hope you enjoy this. Kol tov.